Hey guys, welcome back. So, today's a new day. We're about to get back on our cage. This has been dragging on kind of forever, but we are going to try to make some good progress. So, let me give you a quick thing. So, one of the problems with building a cage when you try to get them to fit tight to the car is that you don't have room to weld stuff. So, like right here, you can see I've got like 1 finger's distance. That's going to be hard to get a TIG torch in there, but I think it'll be possible. It's going to be difficult, especially the back side, because there's like walls of metal back there, so you really can't do much. So I need to weld that outside of the car, which is what I'm going to do, at least the TIG part. So you kind of have to figure all that out, and you have to think about it before you go welding. Otherwise, you might weld like, it's like a puzzle, you know, you start putting it together and then, uh-oh, went the wrong way. So we're having to figure that out. So let me show you what we did. So this kind of took a while, but I made these this list. It's about 200 steps, and it starts off with like the main hoop to the base plates. So this is kind of where we're at now. I'm not going to go through all of this. You can kind of, you know, if you really want to see it, you can pause the video. But basically it's like a step-by-step of like, hey, put it in the car, check this, tack weld, take it out, fully weld, things like that. And we kind of have this. So let me just go over the high points. So basically we're going to do the main hoop to the base plates. We're going to get those done. That's actually the next step. Then for the cage, we're actually switching to the seat. And that's because a lot of the cage revolves around the driver. And the driver is defined by the seat position. So therefore, you know, it kind of makes sense. Also, I've mentioned this previously, but after all the back and forth, we are going to go ahead and put a rocker bar. A rocker bar is the one that ties in like down here, and to go through this area and up to the front up there and hook to that tube. We're going to go ahead and do that. It's not completely clear if we're required, but the more I think about it, I'm afraid if I don't do it, I'll regret it. So we're going to do that. But that bar has to, that means the seat has to be out of the way enough to accomplish that. So we've got this big long thing. So we got all of this plus this part here. So doing the seat is kind of a pain. But we do have all the brackets. Like we figured out how we're going to do the seat brackets, and we got that stuff ordered, so that'll make it a little easier. So anyway, main hoop to the plates, do the seat. Then we got the shoulder bar. Again, this is about the driver, because the shoulder bar is what your harness hooks to. So we'll do that. Then we do what I call the inner braces. So the inner braces are going to basically go from about here, and they're going to angle down to the floor. So it's like a cross brace right there. So we'll do those. Then we do front tubes. Let me see, what are these? That's the ones that are already in the car now. That's what goes to the front. So we've already made these, but we got to get them positioned, tacked, welded, all that stuff. What you'll see here is when we get to the end, it says complete less final welding of plates to the floor and to the main hoop. So that means those front hoops will still actually be removable. They'll just be welded to their plate. So we will do that. Then we're going to do the upper windshield bar. I think this is called like a halo bar. It's a tube that goes about here. It shoots across, roughly. We're going to go ahead and do that. It's not in the rules, I don't think. But we're just going to do it. Everybody seems to do that. It seems like a common thing. So we'll do that. And the way we're doing it, you know, since those front tubes can still come out, when we do this, we'll be able to remove this assembly, I think, weld this bar outside of the car, and then put that assembly, these two will now be one assembly, back into the car. Then we're going to do the diagonal bar. So this one, let me see. So for this, we've got to get several different things going, installing it, adjusting it, tacking it, blah, blah, blah. Decent amount of stuff. And when we get done, it's just not hooked to the main hoop yet. Then we're going to do the rocker bars. So let me see what I probably should have mentioned real quick. So the diagonal, and it kind of, maybe it's obvious, but it hooks to like the hoop, and it diagonal goes down to the floor. I've got some pictures. I should have showed them for this, but we'll come back to that later. But that's getting those bars in. So after that, we're going to do the rocker bar. This is kind of important. I'm going to pause the video. I'll show you a picture real quick. Okay, so I just whipped this up. So if this is the main hoop going vertical, and this is that front tube going vertical, the diagonal, as you can see, goes here. And so the driver would be sitting like right here, and this diagonal bar kind of goes between your shoulders and your elbows. That's kind of the height of it. And then down here, this is where your feet would go. So we want to do it this way, but you also have to have a rocker bar. Now for the rocker bar to be on the floor, it would come in like kind of like right here, or maybe like right here, and then the diagonal would be right above it. Problem is, my rocker bar is probably going to be 3, 4, 5 inches off the floor going across, which means this bar gets pushed up 6 or 7 inches. And then it goes more like, up here somewhere. And this makes it more difficult to get out of the car. So what you can do is you go ahead and run your diagonal where you want it, and then you do this one and you just cross it. So this is actually 2 pieces, and you have to cope them to fit against this tube. This is allowed in the rules. In fact, this piece isn't even required in certain cases. Like if this distance from here to here is only like 5 inches or less, you don't even have to do this. So we'll see, but my guess is we'll probably do this anyway, regardless. But it actually looks pretty good when you do this right. It's like a little X-brace with the intersection point way over here. But it does help for driver egress, which is pretty important. So, a little note on the diagonal. This took a while to figure out that could do that and how to do it. So then, when we get over here, you'll note we have the rocker bars, the passenger side, the rear section. So that would be like this orange one here. Then we'd have rocker bar passenger side front. It's obviously this one. Then we got to do all that stuff for the driver's side. For the driver's side, it's a little more tricky. Passenger side, it's a straight shot, no big deal. Driver's side, we got a seat in the way, as you can see. So we can't actually come straight off that tube. It would just run right into the seat. So this one's going to have a hook and snake around there a little bit, and we'll figure it out. It may have to have a second snake, actually, now that I look at it. So that one's a little more complicated. Not ideal, but it's just packaging constraints. So we'll do all that. The last piece will be the rear main hoop braces. So these are pretty traditional, pretty much all like roll bars for Miatas. Have that typical brace that comes down like this and angles and goes to the back of the car. And in Miata, they typically just go right here to the floor and they're damn near vertical. But for the rules here, they have to be at least 30 degrees off the vertical. Kind of land where you see that square at. So that's how we're going to do those. Those will actually be some of the easiest ones because they're straight pieces of tube and there's a lot of room to access them. So that's not too bad. But anyway, this is the planning stages. So if this seems excessive, maybe it is, but here's the thing. I need to build a decent cage, and I've never done this before. And, in hindsight, maybe they sell books that tell you how to do all this, and if they do, I should have got one. That was a mistake. I'm just now thinking about that. Maybe they do. But I don't have anybody like teaching me how to do this or holding my hand and working for them and building cages and kind of learning School of Hard Knocks that way. I'm just figuring it out on my own. Basically just like Google searching and looking at pictures of, good race cars and bad ones and seeing what you like and don't like. And that's kind of the method. And the rule book, I printed out a bunch of pages for the rule book and kind of like wrote my own summary of what I thought was like, hey, these are all the important things that I need to make sure I follow. So I've been doing plenty of that, and that does kind of slow you down because you got to try to get everything right. Most of the stuff on this car nobody cares about, like if I blow my engine up or pretty much anything to do with the motor, nobody cares, like as far as the rules go, it just doesn't matter, but the cage does. So we're having to be a lot more particular about that. But yeah, that's the plan. So I guess in the next video I'll bring you guys back and I'll show you some of the progress as things progress. But like I said, we're going to start from the top. I guess the last thing I'll note is that when you're working to be efficient, it's nice to have a checklist where you can check stuff off as you go. And that actually kind of gives you like a sense of accomplishment and that you're making progress. And you can visually see the check marks as you go. And that's also one of the benefits. I like to write stuff down just for that. And it helps you not forget stuff or miss things, because like I said, I didn't number these exactly, but it's about 200 steps roughly. So it's easy to miss a step when you're, not trying to remember every little thing. So anyway, we're going to get going on this, and until next time, y'all take it easy.